my vision, every desire. Keep for your glory, my soul inspired. With your perfection and your holy love, flooding my pathway with light from above. And fill all my vision, Savior divine, till with your glory my spirit shall shine. And fill all my vision, that all may see your holy image reflected in me, reflected in me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Jason Goodson.
This is Johnny Taylor.
It's Wednesday night. Well, I was going to say it's October.
I don't think it's October yet.
Man, it's not October, man. We're just in August.
Yeah, it's like the 21st of August. Football, college football.
Are you fired up?
Less than 2 weeks away. I'm not real fired up about Mississippi State playing Oklahoma State the first game. But always like our soft first game normally.
That's not going to hit till about the second game in, is it?
Yeah. We're going to find out exactly what the team's looking like this year right off the bat.
All right. I'm a little bit fired up about the football season myself, even though I'm not going to get to watch a whole lot of games if I stay at my house because I have to go somewhere else to watch it, which will be fine. That means I get to bug a bunch of other people. And so I'll be going to watch some other. I'm really excited about, for some reason, I know this sounds weird and people are going to think I'm weird about this, but the Texas Tech football season for the Big 12 has gained my interest for a particular reason. My cousin has her youngest child is competing for the starting job for the quarterback position at Texas Tech.
Cool.
And he is, I don't know if he's won it or not. We don't know the details on that whole thing yet, but we'll find out shortly what's going on. But I know that he's in competition with them, and he's a good kid, big kid, throw the ball. He's, which is Texas Tech's. It's always been their MO, is they throw the ball, air it out, and he's 6'4", 6'5" in that range, and can launch the football.
Yeah, and
pretty much throw it where he wants to, and he's got some legs underneath him, and but it should be interesting to watch. I'll be hollering for Texas Tech, even though Justin, my nephew, says it, who is a Longhorn fan, unfortunately, will root for Texas Tech unless they're playing against the Longhorns. But I'm telling you, it's just not that I care about Texas Tech football that much. It's that I have a gained special interest because a family member is competing for a job on the team, which I think is cool because, number one, we haven't had anything like that in our family before. And we got to see him play at Texas Stadium, now the new AT&T Stadium, the Cowboy Taj Mahal, and got to watch him play on that field one time. And he, we watched him on the TV. We didn't actually watch him on the field, but so it's cool. I'm excited about that. And all the little things around college football right now that people are talking about, just blowing everything out of proportion. And so, I don't know, it's that time of year, and high school football is starting up again, and I'm fired up about that. I'm going to get to be
lots of good sports going on.
Yeah, so, I'm going to play some role in that this year. It's going to be fun. So,
on the sports front, I just looked, and the Rangers won their game.
Oh.
So they are now half a game out of first place in the American League again.
I'm telling you, man.
Crazy.
Being a Ranger fan is a roller coaster ride, brother.
And Oakland lost today, so 2.5 games up in their division, which is nice this time of year.
After losing all those players, you think, man, they're going to totally bomb it this year. And
they're in better shape right now.
They're in better shape, and three of their starting pitchers are out of the rotation, and they filled in with spots. They went and got Garza and a few other players, and have done a great job of just filling in some holes, even after Cruz left and
There's much
bringing
of
in Rios. I mean, it was just perfect placement. I mean, it's like John Daniels just took the major league and said, "Bye, look what I'm about to do." You know, you give up Hamilton, you know, or you let him go, and then in the off season, and I mean, I'm talking the bullpen last year lost several pitchers to other teams, and here we are. You know, I know it's not the season's not over yet. I get it, but still, the fact that we're this far into it and in first place, it's blowing me away.
Like 21 games above 500. We wasn't 21 games above 500 at any time last year.
No, it just didn't. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me right now. But it's kind of cool.
That's because they're playing. What I like about it is they're playing as a team.
Yeah, you're right.
Now,
you're right.
Although Adrian Beltre is a monster right now.
Yeah, he is.
And has been.
Thank you, Astros, for being the whooping boy this year. It's been good for us to play the Astros.
One game to them out of
I think so. Yeah,
however many it is we've played already.
It's been fun. So I want to thank the people who have taken some time to like our page on Facebook and just share out with that. You know, we talk about that a little bit on the podcast just because, again, you know, we want to get the word out on this and tell your friends about our Twitter account. You can go to @Taleo and go to our Facebook page at the Coffee Podcast, Coffee and Conversation Podcast, and like it. And you know, we've had some people really push it this week, and it's been fun to see the response on that. And you can listen to our podcast from Facebook, or you could go to iTunes and automatically download our podcast from there as well. And so we're thankful for all those of you who are participating with that, and make your comments. And really, it's interesting with the comments, and I'll just put a brief plug in on the comments. And what it does for us is it sort of fuels a conversation between us during the week, and it just kind of spurs us to just kind of see what's going on there, and it gives us an opportunity to talk and just share our hearts and thoughts about what God is doing in us and through us and this whole deal. And this conversation is simply about living life, I think. And if that's and putting a tagline to it, you know, it's just about living life and being ourselves and just seeing what God's doing in that whole process. So it's been fun. And so we thank you for listening and just being a part of this whole thing.
Well, I don't know about you. I've had this sinus mess. Seems like all summer long, and it's gotten really old this week. Just headache and stuff, so I'm kind of out of it tonight, but definitely still want to do this. So
awesome. We started back to school this week. The teachers have reconvened, and we've had our training and stuff starting, and it's been an interesting one for me so far. Some things have happened that I spent last year, the last 3 years, what I've gone through this week, and I've just sat through a bunch of stuff, and now I'm getting to lead, some stuff. And the last 2 days have been really cool because it's really neat to stand up and actually be a teacher.
The professor.
to actually be a teacher to teachers and to teach them things that, I made a comment today, and I'm going to say this as a sidebar, and we'll lead into the conversation from here. But I made a comment today in the middle of this whole thing. There's an algebra teacher that's been teaching at Mineola High School for, at least 30 years or better, and just one of the most difficult teachers on the campus to pass her class. But one of the great things about the teacher is you'll hear the students just moan and groan during the year about her class, this particular teacher. And I had her, and I remember our students when we were walking the hallways moaning and groaning about how hard the class was. And I made the comment today. I had her come and help another teacher out because it had to do with numbers, and I'm not real good with numbers off the top of my head. And she comes over, and I make this comment. I said, "Hey, that's why I'm an English teacher, because I couldn't pass her class hardly when I was going through." And, and I made the comment out loud, and everybody laughed and stuff like that. And one of the things that I always remember about her is she made me a better student, even though I had a hard time passing her class.
Yeah.
And I did. I think for the whole year, I ended up with a 70 to pass to get the credit. Now, and I told her, I said, I guarantee I'd drop to my knees and beg for that 70, and she laughed and said, oh, she didn't have mercy on you or whatever, but she actually did. But the funny thing is I was standing up in front of them teaching her how to do something today. And it was one of those moments where I stepped outside of myself going, man, this is really weird. Here, this teacher's been teaching for 30 years. This one over here has been teaching for 40. And I'm looking around the room and I'm like 4 years into this thing going, what am I doing here? This is so crazy. So, it was fun. And just to leave that in because, I've been doing some things that I never thought I would do, number one. And, just to being a part of that has been fun. And, so anyway, that was a total side note, but just the fact that we've been doing this and, I look forward to being here on Wednesday nights. Even though school's going on, this is a time where our kids are in bed and everything. And so it's been good to be here to do this. And I look forward to keeping it going. So,
fun stuff.
Yeah. JT, I'm going to move into this, and I'm not sure how to get this started, but I'm going to just move in with the fact that I come across, and this has happened in the past, but it's happened recently, and and for you listeners out there, this may be something you've encountered, and you may have said something like this before, or have heard other people say stuff like this, and I think we hear statements such as, if something bad's going on in your life. Okay, let's put the quote bad out there.
Or let me throw this question out there.
Okay.
Why do we seem to find it necessary to blame everything that's wrong or everything we think that's wrong in our life and then the things around us, either on our bad choices, which we covered last week,
right?
On other people's bad choices.
Right.
Or on Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Satan was where I was going with this. And because I walked in the house going, why do we give so much credit to Satan? What's the big draw of giving credit to Satan as we live our lives? Is it because, and I think a lot of times, is it because we feel guilty about equating or blaming God for something? I mean, where does that come from? How's that? I mean, what's that innate? Is that the innate place where we go? Oh, it's got to be Satan. It's nothing else. And it's got to be Satan. It's got to be Satan. It's got to be Satan.
I think we don't want to admit that this world is not the way we want it to be. One.
Right.
We don't want to admit that God's in control of it.
Right.
Because then God's not like we want him to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's not my, let me rub the lantern and get what I want.
The genie type, yeah.
So we got to blame something.
Well, we talked a little bit last week about how Adam and Eve blamed. What was their first response? Was to blame one another. Yeah, but
second sin. Blame somebody else.
Right.
Don't look to God.
Right.
Let's blame something.
I think also in this whole process is, if you're having a bad day, or if you're having a bad week, or if you're having a bad valley moment in your life where nothing seems to be going right, I think a lot of times our easy choice is to put that onus on Satan. And we talked a lot about bad choices last week, like you said earlier, and how these bad choices are, these bad choices outcomes, and we forget to look at God in the moments of our bad choices and how he's drawn us into himself and causing us to rely upon him, and how we're living our life.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we look at those things and forget in the midst of all that God is in the process of using whatever he can to draw us to himself.
Yeah.
with this whole thing. And so Satan plays a part of that because let's look at
I don't think he plays the part that most people think
he does, right. In other words, we think he has ultimate power on, and how do we, that's one of, I think that's the question I'm wrestling with on this whole thing is because, I mean,
I'll be honest, I can't even imagine thinking that way. It's like, is God, because I'm like, is God sitting back? Oh, I didn't see that one coming, and he got me on that one.
Right.
This is, my life is not, I'm not a chess piece on a chessboard, and God's on one side playing the white, and Satan's on the other side playing the black.
Right.
I'm not a chess piece.
Right.
This is God's thing here. He's the creator. He created Satan. But let's see what C.S. Lewis thinks about this.
I love this quote.
I love this. C.S. Lewis says, I could well believe that it is God's intention, since we have refused milder remedies to compel us into unity by persecution, even and hardship. Satan is without a doubt nothing else than a hammer in the hand of a benevolent and severe God. For all, either willingly or unwillingly, do the will of God. Judas and Satan as tools or instruments, John and Peter as sons.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's funny because what brought C.S. Lewis to saying all of this was the hard in his life.
Right.
Bad, or what we would consider bad.
Right.
Was his wife died.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. And he had said some of this before that, but all of a sudden it took life.
The reality came.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was reality. And God had to teach him the truth of what he knew before, and it become life.
Mm-hmm.
And those aren't easy things to be taught.
No, it's not.
It's not fun.
I think we've even said this before, and I've even talked to you about this, is that a lot of things we end up talking about, we end up going through.
Oh, yeah.
When we talk about those things and we conversate about those things, and there's things that we've talked about in the past that, this is something we see, but we really don't know the reality of it until you live it and walk through it.
And see, the thing about it is it's always our heart, and I know me and you both are constantly asking God, I want this to be real. I don't want it to just be some knowledge.
Right.
I want it to be real in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how that happens? It ain't, God don't buy some cotton candy and it become real. Usually there's something painful that goes along with it.
It's, oh my goodness. And I'm going to bite my tongue on a few things, but it's not always, if God is working for my good, it's not always pretty.
No,
it's not always the dandelions in the field. It's not always. I think you just you made a quote here earlier. He talks about the splendor of the human heart that trusts is loved unconditionally, and gives more pleasures than Westminster Cathedral. He names all these beautiful places, all these beautiful things, all these things that we see as serene and stuff like that. But it's not always walking through the serene in this whole thing, but it's also seeing, hey, that even these dark moments, these things that we go through that we don't always understand, there's always a drawing of God in that. And sometimes in the case of Job, which I know people are going, hey, what about Job? What about Job? What about Job? Okay.
He got everything wiped out as far as earthly things go.
If we look at his life, I don't think anybody's raising our hand going, okay, God, I want to be Job.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's a whole lot that there was lost in that process.
Guess what? You're Job if you want to know God. Afraid there's no way around it.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, nobody wants to be Job.
We don't raise our hand and say, volunteer me for this position right here. But Satan, who we give credit to, had to go to God
and ask
to get permission.
And was the tool by which God
used.
And Job changed from, before I'd heard of you with my ears, but now I've seen you with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge difference there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge difference. I mean, we've talked about this before. And you think about this, our plans, I mean, going down this road, first you got to start out realizing I don't have a clue what's best for me. I have no clue. I don't know if something I would consider good or if something I would consider bad is the best for me. So first of all, you got to just leave it in God's hands to take you where he wants you to go. I just all of a sudden it just rushed in on me the things we've talked about before, the situation. There was Joseph.
Right.
How many of you have made your plans to be successful in ministry and followed Joseph's life? Okay, tomorrow I'm going to get thrown in the well. Then I'm going to be a slave for years and years. I'm going to spend some time in prison. Then I'm going to save the world. But, we got to go through that, What was another one I was just thinking of? We've talked about before. Stephen's
another one.
I wonder if his plan... I wonder if his plan that day included getting stoned to death.
Oh, man.
What was best? What was God's plan?
Right. I think, and I think we don't know those things. If we try to predict those things that are going to happen, we can't do that.
He didn't have the time to say it, but he experienced what Job experienced, because he said he saw saw Christ standing at the right hand of God. Before he died.
It's another chill moment for me. That's good. Yeah.
So this is the question. What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck do you want?
Right.
Do you want a cushy life, or do you want to know God?
That's interesting.
And I don't know. God may give you a cushy life and still know him.
And still know him, yeah.
But
don't hear us, hey. I don't think JT's over here slamming being rich. That's not the deal. But
I wouldn't mind being rich.
Nor would I.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong
with any of the good things.
But I like what you're saying. Keep going with that thought because it's good.
But whatever happens, I want to know God.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means.
Right.
I've got to say that's okay.
Right.
And I've got to quit running from the things that I don't like.
Right. Including yourself. The things you don't like about yourself.
That's the hard one. Those
are the hard one. And man, there's buried deep down inside, those are things that are hard. Mm-hmm.
Just think about it. I mean, these are the things, if you want to know God, first, you don't have any clue what's best for you. You have no power. God has it all. And then you've got to be okay with being messed up.
That's big right there.
Oh, that's maybe the hardest one out of all of those.
That's okay. You got my mind turning now.
We've talked about that tons of times.
Yes.
Can you be okay with being messed up? And as Paul said, in my weakness, then am I made strong.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that thing that was wrong with him, he wanted rid of it. And God said, nope, it's going to stay.
It totally takes the I'm okay, you're okay thing and throws it out the window.
No, we're not okay.
Because if you think I'm okay and you're okay, well, then we can all treat each other as if we're okay. And I think we miss the point of life in that system of thinking everybody's okay. Oh, you're okay. Oh, you're okay. You're okay.
That makes us fake, because then we try to live up to that.
Okay, if everybody's okay, then I'm okay. Like today, I can give you an example. Even in today, I remember walking around the room on each table, and one of the things as a teacher that you do normally is you walk around. Is everything okay? That's something that came out of my mouth 17 times a day. I bet. Yeah. Is everything okay? Are you understanding everything? And I wanted them to be okay I wanted my okayness was based upon their okayness today.
Yeah.
That seriously, like it was, because now I'm realizing it as I'm thinking about it. But really, if somebody wasn't okay, my thought immediately concern was, okay, I didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah.
And not realizing, hey, they just need help.
Yeah.
And that's,
you need to be a teacher.
You need to be a teacher.
That's why you're here. And
all of a sudden, teacher mode hits, and then you go into helping the person.
Yeah.
And you just and I realize, and I know that's an easy illustration, but it does apply to this whole thing, because if I'm sitting in a room full of guys, you know, don't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's our Sunday night guys that we hang out with, or if it's our friends from Mississippi that we hang out with, or if it's any of the group of people, my family, anybody. If I can sit in a room with people and look around in here and think everybody's okay and they've got life figured out and it's all perfect, then man, I've got some sort of shield here that's blinding me to the reality of who they are. And and I've just learned, over the years that accepting my not being okay has helped me to accept other people's not being okay.
One of the
and it begins with me.
One of the best days in my life was the day I finally decided, wait a minute, everybody else is just as messed up as I am. They may not look like it on the outside, but they are. Because that's the way, that's what it, unfortunately. And this is one of those things I'd love to know, well, why does it have to be this way?
Right.
God, why did you make it this way? Because you made it this way.
Right.
Why does it take us being so messed up to follow him? If we were in good shape, we would never follow him. I'm just going to kind
of walk out on the ledge here, JT. This all got me brain going here. One of the things I think in our messed upness and not being okay with what's going on, and in all the process of this, okay, we feel okay about giving Satan the credit because now I've got a place to put the blame.
Yeah, and I can do something.
And I can do something about that. I can fight this because I've got God behind me on this, and I can do this, and boom, 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 boom. And I think one of the things we realize is that, and I'm going to go the blood of Jesus route here and just kind of look at this real fast and just tell you about something. And this is obvious, okay? But the cross, if you look at the cross and you try to, you look at the power of the blood in the cross and the result of the power of the blood in the cross, it saved you from your sin. It's rescued you from death. But man, do you understand that the power of Satan is not over you?
Says we've been translated.
It's been
into the kingdom of light, out of the kingdom of darkness.
It's not.
We're not under that kingdom.
Yeah, there's not a. It's not as if you're stuck. You're not stuck in this old way of thinking. It's a mindset change to understand that, hey, I am in Christ, and there's no need for me to live in this idea that I am powerless over something that has no power at all. Okay, and so one of the things that we can look at is this, and in that quote C.S. Lewis made a while ago, and this makes sense to me. Okay, he talked about Satan and who else being a tool and an instrument? Judas. Okay, they were tools and instruments to accomplish certain things. Okay, now look at John and Peter. Let's look at the opposite side of that real fast. Okay, and I'm just going to mention Peter real fast because he's easy to mention. He's easy to pick on. Peter is easy to pick on. Look at Peter.
He is a messed up dude.
He was, right? And he chose himself over God on several occasions in his little denying this. And can you relate to Peter? Can you relate to John, who was the beloved disciple? But you don't think John was not messed up? Okay. John was a fisherman and had, just think about all these things. Anything that you can detail about your life and you can compare it to John, you can compare it to Peter and you can put yourself and what was one of the things that was said about John? Well, John wrote, and I'm just going to go to 1 John and look at this real quick. And he writes some things here, and he's matured. He has written Revelation. He's written the book of John, the Gospel of John. And here we are. He's going to 3 little letters here. In 1 John, he shows up And he talks about being children of God at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting little thing. And because we can look at this and we can relate back to this. And he talks about spiritual things and through all this in chapter 2 of 1 John. And at the very end, he says in verse 28, and I'll just read a few things. And he says, and now, little children, abide in him that we, and when he appears, that we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some messed up guys, right, by the way, here. And I think we talked about this before, too. And I'm just going to reiterate this thing. We talk about how good these guys are, and we miss the fact that these guys are messed up. Okay. Yeah. And so he not be ashamed before him at his coming. If you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone who practices righteousness is born of him. And then chapter 3 hits, behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called what? Children of God. Therefore, the world does not know us because it did not know him. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not been yet revealed that what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure. Okay. And what is he saying there? Okay. What is he saying there? Not only, he's writing to a group of people who are having a hard time trusting in God as the ultimate power, right? But look at all these messed up people, including themselves and us being messed up in this process, okay?
Yeah.
Not being okay, or sometimes learning to get to this place where we're okay with not being okay. Obviously, the disciples got to this point in life, or they would not have trusted God.
Yeah.
Fully dependent upon him, everything that they did, right? So here we are in this process. And he calls himself what? He calls him what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us. That we messed up ones,
Yep.
sinners, you all who are in the part of this messed up, even the people, okay, that we should be called what? Children of God. Okay.
Sons and daughters.
Sons. Yeah, daughters. We equate and we look at sons, and you ladies out there who are listening and, well, I can't be a son, I'm a daughter. Okay, yeah, you're a daughter of God, but we're the bride of Christ. You can be a son just as we can be brides, okay? But look, he used, and I love that illustration that C.S. Lewis uses there of instruments and tools. And we always say we want to be instruments and tools of God.
Yeah.
In the process too, but Satan was an instrument of God. Still is. Judas was an instrument. Pharaoh was an instrument of God.
Yep.
Moses. Think about these characters. Moses.
Joseph's
brothers. Think about, look at all the dichotomy all the way through here in the scripture. And what you're going to see is that the sons, the called, you who have been drawn in, you who are his children.
Let me read this scripture, Colossians 1:13. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love. I love the way New King James is there.
Yeah. What was that one again?
Colossians 1:13.
That's good.
He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love. We're no longer in that power realm. We're in the sons, just like C.S. Lewis talked about Peter and John. Back to Joseph and his brothers. You think about it. If Joseph's brothers, and I'm going to get in trouble here. This is my get in trouble time. This is my get in trouble moment of the podcast this week. If Joseph's brothers had not had
it's okay.
If Joseph's brothers hadn't have had murder in their hearts, Joseph would have never gone to Egypt and saved his whole family.
That's right.
Now, did God use murder in their hearts as a tool?
Yes.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Guess what? He uses people all over the place like that all the time in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we can blame all kinds of things on that. But guess what? If you're a child of God, then you're in the kingdom of his Son. And guess who rules there?
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Nobody else rules there.
And nobody else rules there.
So whatever's going on, whatever's happening, is God carrying you to where you're supposed to be.
That's so good, man. That's good. It's him rescuing. It's the rescue. He's rescuing you from that whole thing. It's so good, man.
I mean, we do not want to admit that God's doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
One, if we admit it to ourselves, it's going to tick us off at God sometimes. Like he doesn't know when we feel that way. So we blame it on Satan so we can turn our anger towards something else. Or we blame it on whatever.
Right. As if God's not big enough to handle our feelings that he already knows about and is going to. And
you wonder what Peter was thinking when he was sitting there and got put in a position to deny Christ. I wonder if he was ticked off that he was in that position. Well, I followed you here.
Right.
And this is all conjecture. But,
right.
You know, I'm just thinking, what would I be feeling if I was in that?
Right.
I was the only one that came down here, and now look where I'm at.
Dude, Jesus.
They're going to kill me.
That's right. Jesus, I chopped an ear off for you.
And I'm the only one here.
Right. In the place, you're right. I never thought about it that way. It's good. Yeah.
I always like to think about what were people thinking, because we want to look at them differently than being real people.
Right.
But this is the thing. Let's look at what Peter's weakness taught him later on. Jesus has been crucified. Guess what? Disciples have gone back to fishing because they saved all their stuff the first time Jesus calls them.
Exactly right.
They put it up.
Right.
Because they thought, okay, this is plan B. I got plan B in hand. We got to have plan B. So we're going to put our boats and our nets up. We're going to fold them up all nice and pretty so they won't ruin. And just in case we're wrong, we can go back to plan B. Do you ever keep a plan B?
I try not to.
I think we all have plan B.
I think we all do. I try not to, though, but I can guarantee you there's always a plan B running in my head.
Okay,
yes.
they've got plan B. Guess what happens? It didn't work out the way they thought it was supposed to.
It didn't. Right.
And what did they do?
They went back to what they were doing.
They went back to plan B.
That's right.
Oh, it couldn't have been plan A. Christ dying on a cross, that couldn't have possibly been God's plan.
That's right.
So we're going to go back to fishing. Okay, so they've gone back to fishing. And they're out there fishing, and they're not catching anything. Sound familiar? Hey, right back where they started again. And all of a sudden, somebody on the shore says, cast your nets on the other side. Like, hey, I've heard that before.
Where'd you come from?
Where'd you come from? And so they cast their nets on the other side, and they catch this load of fish.
Mm-hmm.
What Peter did here amazes me and encourages me that all of this struggle is God's plan. Because what Peter did here, he's the one that went. He was the one that denied.
Right.
He was the one that suffered.
Right.
After I mean, that cock crowed.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And oh, my goodness.
Right.
Can you imagine? Because Jesus had said, you're going to deny me 3 times before the cock crows. And that he did it the 3rd time. And
then boom, he did.
That cock crowed and it hit him. I am so messed up. But what he did then, he ripped off his coat, jumped in the water, left those boats behind, and swam
in
to Christ.
Nice. Yeah.
Guess what the other guys did?
Stay.
They brought the boats in, collected the
our
fish up, folded their nets up. Same thing they did. They were keeping Plan B still. I'm sure they came to their, I'm going to let Plan B go at some point.
Right.
But it wasn't that day.
No. That's good.
Peter got there way earlier.
Right.
Because that was God's plan.
Right.
And he went through some hell to get there.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But he chunked Plan B that day. And
oh, that's great, man.
And that's the thing. That's where God's getting us to. Plan A. Plan A is the only plan. And it's not my plan.
Right.
That's the hard. That's one of the hard ones. It's not my plan.
It's not my plan. Right.
God didn't say, okay, you're my son, make Plan A. No, he has Plan A. It's already laid out. What's the verse about? He's created good works that we should walk in them.
Let's go to.
There's always Plan A is always there. And I hate to tell you, Plan B never ever works.
I don't know why not either.
Oh my
man! Okay, because this is so funny. And the teacher, and I go back to the teacher role because I've been in it, but it's always, well, if this doesn't work on Monday, we're going to go to this plan.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You just totally destroyed my world up there. Okay, thank you, JT. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the thing. You can't judge God's plan by world standards.
Here it is. This is good. For by grace you've been saved through faith. Ephesians 2:8. That not of yourselves, it is a gift of God, not of works. Verse 9, lest anyone should boast, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Whatever. Yeah, exactly right.
And Plan A does not look like what the world would say is a good thing. I'm sorry. The American dream is not God's plan.
Oh, man.
But we judge God's plan by the American dream.
Exactly right. Oh,
why don't we start?
I've got so many things to say about that, and I just can't say them because I'll get.
Why don't we start judging God's plan by His character?
Oh man, it's good. Yeah.
Let's judge it by His character. We're His children. We're in the kingdom of the Son of His love. He loves us, not based on anything we do. He leads us, not based on anything we do.
Yeah.
He is the author and the finisher, not us. He's preparing a bride. He's bringing sons to glory.
It's good.
You know what? I didn't see us in any of that other than we get to benefit. We're just the result of it.
It's good, man.
And I'm on my soapbox now because it drives me crazy to watch people judge God by the American dream.
Right.
It's to think that the American dream is comparable to what God has for us.
Right. You gonna get me? Well, I'm trying not to get on the soapbox while you're.
I gotta just grit my teeth. God's love for us is so far beyond anything we can imagine as good. It's so far beyond anything we can imagine as being good. Yet we can experience it.
man, it's just, I'm speechless. That's good. It's good because it's all those things. It's all those things that you wish you could throw into a mind of a person to help them understand it immediately. But until God wakes you up in the midst of your suffering and helps you see that no matter what the situation is you're going through, when he wakes you up in the midst of this, it says, I've got you here for my purpose, to show you what I'm going to do with you and how you need to rely upon me in everything.
And it's so far beyond any good you can imagine.
Anything. It beats the pile of riches.
If you get beyond tasting it, it would destroy you. It's so good.
Absolutely.
And this body, if I do more than just taste of it, it would absolutely destroy me.
Right.
It is so good.
Right.
And so far beyond anything I could even handle. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good.
Yep.
I don't know much else.
That's it, man.
Because if I keep going, I'll probably get even more on soapbox and get myself in trouble.
This is maybe something we can pick up and keep working on into next week even. But just all these things that may be brought up to your mind, and so many things that you've heard tonight or whatever. Consider what some of the things you're walking through right now.
I encourage people to look at how you're judging your situation.
Yeah, exactly right.
Are you judging it by, like I said, the American dream or that whole mindset? Or are you judging it by God's character and the fact that you're a son?
A son, yeah.
A beloved son.
And you're not just a tool in this. Exactly.
And don't forget this. Because you're a son in Christ, you're a beloved son in whom he is well pleased.
In whom, that's good.
Judge your situation from that mindset.
All right. Very good. You'll have a good week.
Yes. And we should be back next week, God willing.
God willing.